Welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm back with this horrific story and it is just unbelievable. But there is another meaning to this, and this is the lengths the devil will go to have you running, screaming, pulling your hair out away from the truth. He twists the truth, he tells good lies, he sprinkles a little truth over his bullshit lies. But this is a horrifying story.
About parents who beat their child to death in the name of God. They believe the Bible requires them to spank their kids with items like belts and rods in order to train them to be well-behaved, happy kids. These parents appear to have been following the teachings of a Christian parenting book called To Train Up a Child, a book that is growing in popularity around the world. Gary Tuckman tonight has the first of our two-part special report.
The small town of Paradise, California, where these children lived with their parents in a fundamentalist Christian home. For the 9 children, life in paradise was anything but. We cover up 8 of their faces because they are the survivors. Survivors of a violent form of discipline practiced by their parents, Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz. The one face not covered is their 7-year-old adopted daughter, Lydia. She was killed by her parents. Mike Ramsey is the district attorney of Butte County in Northern California.
We've heard of, the phrase death by 1,000 lashes. That's basically what this was.
This is where the family used to live. The children's sandbox is still here. So is their slide and their treehouse. But the surviving children are now in foster homes, and the parents are in prison.
Violated Section 273A, parentheses B.
They pleaded guilty to killing Lydia and seriously injuring her 11-year-old sister, Zariah, who almost died. Authorities say Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz beat their children regularly because they believed God wanted them to. The district attorney said the Schatz believed
To spare the rod will spoil the child. And if you can train your horse and you can train your dog, you can train your children.
7-year-old Lydia suffered terribly, supposedly in the name of God. But authorities say this was torture and murder by parents who were supposed to love and cherish their child. Inside this house, they found important evidence. The so-called biblical rods the Schatz had inside. What they were 15-inch long plumbing supply tubes used to beat the children. And also important, a book was found inside. A book that appeared to light the fuse to the deadly brutality. The book is called To Train Up a Child. Its author is this man on the tractor, Michael Pearl, and his wife Debbie. They consider themselves observant Christians who run an organization called No Greater Joy Ministries from their Tennessee farm.
Well, I'm a preacher, minister of the gospel.
Their book and others they've written stacked in a warehouse on their farm. All of them guided, they say, by the teachings in the Bible.
And it says that if you spare the rod, you hate your child. But if you love him, you chasten him timely.
A rod, according to the Pearl's manual on training children, could be anything from a tree switch to a spatula. In the book, they describe a rod as a magic wand. God would not have commanded parents to use the rod if it were not good for the child. The Pearls say parents should stay in control and not act in extreme. But they also declare any spanking to effectively reinforce instruction must cause pain.
Let's say a 7-year-old slugs his sister. A 7-year-old would get 10 or 15 licks. Then it would be a formal thing. In other words, you maintain your patient air. You explain to him that what he's done is violent and that that's not acceptable in society and it's not acceptable in our home. Then I would take him somewhere like into his bedroom and I would tell him I'm going to give him 15 licks.
With what?
Probably a belt. A kid that big, a boy, I'd probably use the belt. It'd be handy. I might use a wooden spoon or a piece of like plumbing supply line, 1/4 inch in diameter, flexible enough to roll up.
See, what I'm saying here is why not just use your hand instead of all these materials?
Hey, look here. Right here. Let me show you something. Does that hurt?
Doesn't feel good.
But look what it's doing. Look what it's doing to your whole body. See your hip? You don't use your hand on somebody. That's a karate
But
chop.
you're telling me that when you use this material that it can't cause permanent pain.
The skin.
My children never had marks left on them.
But look at the body of Zariah, the daughter who was seriously injured by her parents. These are just some of her wounds. Other wounds and bruises on her body, and on the body of her sister Lydia, who died, are far too graphic for us to show. Lydia was so severely beaten she died of a condition usually associated with earthquakes and bombings. What do you think influenced the Schatzes to beat, terrorize, and torment the children?
The book by Mr. Pearl. There's no doubt about that.
Lydia was beaten for 7 continuous hours, interrupted by short prayer breaks on the day she died. The sound of the police siren was recorded by a Paradise police officer racing to the house. When he arrived, he tried to save Lydia with CPR, with both of the parents present.
She's swallowed a lot of
Figure out what's going on. She was like really tired and her vision was blurry. Come on, baby.
And listen later in the day to the seriously injured Zariah.
I believe this thing is just on the arms and back.
On my body and on my back last night. Underneath my feet.
Underneath your feet. Sorry, I'd like to take you to the hospital. Okay.
I probably need to bring a pot because I might throw up again.
At the sentencing hearing, 11-year-old Zariah, who was still recovering from her serious injuries, had the courage to address her parents in open court about her deceased sister. She said, "Why did you adopt her? To kill her?" It's a heartbreaking story. Kevin pleaded guilty to murder and torture and will be in jail for at least 22 years, and Elizabeth for at least 12. Do you think if the Schatzes did not read the Pearl's book, there'd be a good chance that Lydia's still alive?
I would think that there would be.
We reviewed the case, and we tried to find out what had happened to see if there was going to be any blame pointed at us. So we looked into it.
Now, there's 2 things that are going on here. The first thing that I will address is white people adopting black children. This should not be going on. We should be adopting our children and giving them a home and a place to live and raising them, because with the hate that is directed towards us, and it's been directed towards us since the inception of the country, this is not a good idea. Even these so-called adoption agencies, they don't have the best interests of the children at heart to know what kind of country this is, know how we've been treated, know how we continue to be treated, know that we work on plantations, know that there is still slavery, but yet you want to give a black child to a white couple. And I'm sure that this young girl could have been saved. I'm sure people knew, they were out there in the woods and it looks remote, but I'm sure somebody had to know before this poor young child was killed. Blame game that's going on here. They're trying to say, this is of the Most High, God, they call him. This is discipline, and they were told to do this by the Bible, which is absolute crap. That is a lie from the pits of hell. How is it that you believe that you can take a metal rod and beat the hell out of a human being and then think that the Bible told you to do that? This is sick and twisted, and this is the prime example of what I'm talking about when people try and attack the Bible. The Bible did not tell these people to kill children, to beat children like that. Discipline is not killing. Discipline is not murder. Discipline is not beating someone and harming them. Because in that very same Bible, it says if you harm and that's pretty clear, harm a child, you might as well put a millstone around your neck and jump into the ocean. You might as well kill yourself if you are going to harm a child. But again, there is never any accountability. There is always blame going around. There is always fingers pointed in other directions. I can tell the host who talked about this story, I already know what his issue is with the Bible. Anybody can do a quick search and know why Anderson Cooper has an issue with the word. And again, these people cannot effectively interpret the Bible. They can't effectively know the truth because there is no truth in them. And then they further go on to blame two couples as if their book somehow magically grew hands and feet and picked up a metal rod, put it in their hand to murder and torture. That was murder, that was torture. And nothing in the Bible, no words in a book, nothing nobody says could ever make someone do something like this. Deep down inside of you, you know right from wrong. You know discipline from abuse. You do. You make the decision to abuse, terrorize, murder, or discipline because you know the difference between the words. So this story is so horrible because it shows that we should not be around people like this. We should not have our children around people like this. They adopted these kids to kill them, to torture them. This is a rehashing of history. They're going and they're purchasing these kids, or so-called adopting these children, getting them from Africa, getting them from everywhere, so they can beat and abuse and terrorize. The same thing that was going on in slavery, but people want to say that it's over. People want to say that we're a different nation. This is modern day slavery. Beating the hell out of these children. And notice who died? The black child. Who almost died? The black child. This should set a precedent that will not allow them to get their disgusting, evil, wicked, demonic hands on our children. And black people need to step up and adopt our children. And again, I know this will be used as propaganda against the Bible because God would never tell you to murder and terrorize anyone. Murder is a commandment. You are not supposed to kill. You are not supposed to harm a child. You are supposed to have discipline and give discipline. And nobody ever disciplined them like that, but they want people to believe that they felt that this was proper discipline. Seeing that they have been disciplined themselves by their parents, maybe. Where did they get that idea that beating someone like this is disciplined? No, do not be fooled. This is what they wanted to do. This is what they had in them. Like I said, they are no different than their forefathers. They have this unnatural, or that it's natural to them, need to kill us. They enjoy it. At least someone has some sense. It said, this is horrible and sad. No religion teaches that. No one teaches to beat and kill and terrorize and torture. It's disgusting. And then you have a few people, and it works effectively. Like I said, the Christian religion is living up to its name, and it is making its mother proud, which is Catholicism. They have a lot of bodies in their history, and so does Christianity. And people are always looking at the Christianity and trying to attach it to the Bible and the Most High, and it has nothing to do with the Bible or the Most High. This has everything to do with its pagan roots. Killing, torturing. You are a murderer and you are a snake to do this. And like I said, it almost seemed like it's a plan. Like this is the next step in the plan. They took the scriptures, attached it to these disgusting religions, beat it into us all, and now they're about to tear it down, where you equate the Most High, or who they call God, to something like this, where you equate the Bible, saying the Bible told you to do this, when that's a damn lie. And then they furthermore push it with the race issue. This is the most disgusting thing that I have ever seen in my life, and I know the propaganda and the agenda behind it. They wanted to act out their master-slave degeneracy, fantasy, and then other people with other agendas twisted it, saying if they hadn't read that scripture, if they hadn't read that Bible, if they hadn't been told that, they wouldn't have done it. That right there is what gets on my nerves. No accountability for their actions at all. Something made them do it. It was a mental issue. It's always something other than them. They wanted to do this. They wanted to harm someone. They wanted to kill someone. But no, they try and make you think that God told them to do it. It's always a scapegoat. The black man in the corner over there, the dark one, he stole my children. No, that person right there, they did it. I don't know what happened. I snapped and I saw red and I blacked out and I don't remember what happened. I was drinking. I'm a victim of meth and heroin and cocaine and crack. It's always an excuse. And I'm going to leave it right here. Tell me what you think, and I'll see you next time.